Hello everyone, I'm going to be doing another podcast today to tell you about the advantages and disadvantages of a flipped class. Now what is a flipped class, you say? Flipped classes are classes that tend to have more of like a hybrid style between online classes and traditional classrooms. They combine the accessibility of online classes with like video lectures and like other online materials where students can do the work at home that you typically do in class. They would listen to lecture notes, take notes at home, like they do most of the learning of the material at home so they can do more of the more difficult stuff in class. And it combines it with the one-on-one interaction of a teacher in an actual classroom style. So students still have that teacher to go to when they have trouble, but when they actually are being passive learners, when they're watching lectures or when they're taking notes, they can do that at home when they don't really actually need a teacher to engage with. And according to Bill Tucker in Education Next, flipped classes are teacher-created videos and interactive lessons, and instruction that used to occur in class is now accessed at home and before class. Class becomes a place to work through problems, advance concepts, and engage in collaborative learning. Basically, you're moving lectures and stuff like that at home, and you're spending the time in class talking to your classmates about difficult problems, asking your teacher if you don't understand a concept, and you basically get to do all of your work in class now instead of at home. And what are the benefits of this? The benefits of this are definitely you'll have more time in class. If you didn't have to lecture every day and then send students home with homework, you'd have so much more time to discuss difficult problems, to have group work, have your students talk to each other and exchange ideas, because they're not going to do that at home. If they're at home, they're going to be working on their homework for other classes, or for your class in general. And in Tucker's article, he interviewed a teacher, Bergman, who says, "I now have time to work individually with students. I talk to every student in every classroom every day." That is huge. That is like beyond huge. Having time to work one-on-one with every student will improve their learning by so much. Being able to discuss what problems an individual student's having and work through any questions they might have face-to-face during class time is going to be so beneficial to the student. And typically, the most outgoing and engaged students are the ones who ask questions, while the struggling ones might act out. Bergman notes that he now spends more time with the struggling students who no longer give up on their homework or classwork problems now, but work through the challenging problems in class. This is very, very important to note because in the short amount of class time, it's the most outgoing and engaged students who are the ones who are asking. The students who are doing well are the ones who interact in class more, and they're the ones who don't really need the interaction in class, while the struggling students are the ones who actually need the interaction in class, but they're the ones who don't actually do it because they don't know what's going on. When they have more time to ask the right questions, to get help when they need it, they're not going to act out. They're going to instead be actually engaging with the mathematics. So this is definitely a huge benefit from flipped classes. And continued, the learning materials are much more easily accessed, and missed content can be revisited. If you miss a lecture in a traditional classroom, you're not going to be able to get it. You can get the notes from someone else, but you're never going to have that exact same lecture again. So this makes it really beneficial for students to be able to go back and see the lectures they missed, or if they don't understand a concept, they can watch the lecture again, try and get a better look at it a second time. They can also rewind their videos if they missed something in the video, or if the video went over some really confusing concept that they need a second look at. So in an article on the USA Today about an AP Calculus teacher named Roshan, Greg Topo said that students watch these lessons at home, sometimes 2 or 3 times, and they can replay confusing sections. If they're still confused, they ask a friend. And if that still doesn't work, if going through the video 2 or 3 times and their friend doesn't understand it either, they can go in class, and that's why the teacher's still there, to completely make sure everything is crystal clear. And in that class, Roshan, this was talking about one instance in her class, she talked, she drew, and she took students' questions, she drew some more, and then from start to finish, the entire lesson in class lasted only 3 minutes and 25 seconds, because everyone was still on a pretty high level of understanding already. So the lesson only had to take 3 minutes and 25 seconds in class, and everyone went back to their work. If you could spend all 50 of your minutes in class doing challenging problems, actually engaging in the pursuit of mathematics rather than just sitting there listening to a person lecture, if you can do that for the 46 minutes and 35 seconds of the other part of class, that is so huge in comparison to the usually you get like maybe 20 minutes at the end of class if you're lucky, if your lesson wasn't that long. So those are summing up the benefits for a flipped class. Now the disadvantages of them is it does unfortunately enforce the lecture and test style, where you give them a bunch of like lecture notes to take to memorize more or less, and then you test what they've learned. A flipped class is you can't really do exploration lessons at home because there's nothing to guide students to make sure they're going in the right direction. There's no teacher to ask those poignant questions. There's just the video. So it does unfortunately enforce the lecture and test style. And Frank Naschis, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, is a physics teacher at John Jay High School in Cross River, New York, and says that anything that gives teachers more face time with the students is a good thing, but lecturing, even at a like a really leisurely pace where students can have all the time in the world to learn it, is bad pedagogy. It teaches students that lecturing is the only way that you're going to learn, and it discourages kind of self-driven exploration of topics. And in district administration, some critics, including Lisa Nielsen, author of Teaching Generation Text, say that educators should use the flipped classroom with caution because many students do not have access to computers outside of school. When doing flipped class, you need your students to be able to watch these videos. It's an absolute requirement. And if students don't have a connection to the internet, or if they don't have the ability to watch your videos, they're not going to be able to know what you're talking about because they just can't watch them. So if you're going to do a flipped class, you have to be sure that your students will be able to access your videos outside of class, because if they can't do it outside of class, they're not going to get the content. Alright, so in the classroom, this style takes a little bit of getting used to by the students. They have to remember to go home and watch the videos, and they have to know that if you need help, go to the videos first, because they're there for you to get help with. The teacher I did this with, during my early field experience, he did a couple flip classes while I was there, and he would post lecture videos to Edmodo. If you haven't heard of the site, it's basically like Facebook for school. And after he posted those videos, students would send home with note sheets to fill out, and then they'd come back to class to do group work. And some of the problems I saw with this were that some students didn't finish their note sheets, just like they didn't finish their homework. So it's still, the onus is still on the students to finish their work at home and bring it to class with them. It did have, from what I could see, it had a very good benefit on students having a strong grasp on how these things worked, so that was very much a positive thing. And there was so much more time available for students to be able to ask their teacher for help, ask me for help as a student aide, just be able to just have more time in class in general. I didn't get to see a lot of flip classes from I saw 2 the entire year, and there weren't enough to get quantitative data from test scores. But they did do pretty well on the one test that I saw afterwards. There are lots of programs that can help support for flip classes. Like the program I'm currently on right now, Screencast-O-Matic works, Camtasia works on PowerPoints, on any kind of program you can think of, like Genre, Sketchpad, or anything like that. Edmodo, Blackboard, and Scholar are great places to post your videos to. Integrity are also good. It's been growing in classrooms all over. It's good use of technologies, can get students very much engaged, mostly positive feedback from the research, but there are still those who do not support this style of class, and it's definitely worth trying. I am going to definitely try it a few times on my own, see if I can actually make my entire curriculum a flipped class curriculum, which I would really like as my end goal. Right, and here are some references to a couple articles on flipped class if you would like to for yourself. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good one.